So what I've asked him to do is talk a little bit about something that really impacted them during this time. And it just took off with that. Something that meant a lot to them. And I'm going to ask Audrey to go first, since Audrey was kind of our oldest student to go, our graduate. And so, Audrey, lead off. If you get time to step up here, they can kind of see you.
What really stuck out to me was just being at the camp and listening to the stories. The guy who started this camp, his name was Gerald, and it was a camp for prisoners' children. And they would come and he would teach them like Bible stories and different things, and just simple things like the 10 Commandments, which seemed like foreign to them. They had never heard of it. And to us, it's so, it's like common sense. It's stuff we hear our whole lives. But to them, it was like something totally new. And I just thought it was cool because it gave them a chance to be around, normal adults. And they could see that they didn't have to be like their parents. And, I don't know, it just made me realize that little things really do matter, and that we should share what we know to other people. So. And I also helped put a picnic table together. That was the highlight of the mission work. So.
Well, this week was really just about, for me, it was like all of us getting to know each other more, because we had like kind of a new group come in to go. And I've been here for about 4 years, and I don't think I'd ever really had a full conversation with Matthew or Catherine. And I will tell you right now, they are a hoot and a half. They are really funny. And, I mean, you can just go up to Catherine and start playing ninja, and she will beat you. And Matthew is pretty good at categories on the way down. And I don't think I've ever laughed as hard this week as I've laughed at Jill Brandt. God knows why, but that was pretty funny. And we just had a great time. And we got to bond together, and I was kind of nervous coming in this week, and I just had the verse, Romans 8:28, kind of in my head, which is, and we know that God will cause everything to work for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. And I just was kind of thinking that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to go do God's work, and he made everything work out for awesome, and it was really great, and we got to do some cool things and hear some cool stories, and I think we're all coming back stronger in our faith and changed for life. And I faced my 2 worst fears of snakes and thunderstorms this week, which was great when I found the baby nest. So, all right.
Okay, so our speaker, his name was Chad Poe, and he was really funny and really awesome. And he said one thing that kind of stuck out to me. He said, worship matters because Jesus matters. And it made me think, like, it's not about the songs that you're singing or how you're singing them. It's about who you're singing them for. And kind of, it's not about you, it's about him. So you just kind of have to worship, not think about outside things. And I want to say thank you to the church for letting us go, because it was a really awesome time, and we got to do some great things for awesome people. So, yeah.
Hi, okay. I'm not very good at this, but I liked it when the Chad, I don't remember his last name, like when he talked about Moses and how Moses was like, when God told him like to go out and lead his people out, he was like, can anyone else do it? And that kind of stuck out to me. I really got to know these guys. They're really funny. And you guys are crazy in ways. Yeah. Yeah, and thanks for letting us go.
Something that I learned at camp was that anything is possible through God, and that when you feel like you have nobody else, God is there for you. I didn't really want to go to camp, but my mom made me. But now I'm actually really glad she did because I had so much fun. While we were working, I just felt so proud of all of the work we were getting done. Gerald was our guy, and he was so funny. His jokes made me laugh a lot. He was really nice. And seeing the smile on his face made me feel amazing. I had a lot of fun at camp because I grew close with people that I thought I would never talk to. I liked how everybody was so nice to me and made me feel like I fit in with them. Just because most of them were older than me, they still were nice to me and talked to me like they would to anybody else. I can't wait to go to camp next year. Thank you to everybody that came to the St. Patrick's Day dinner and the car wash. Thank you for giving me the chance to go and have the opportunity to help someone.
Okay, I have to follow her, and she's prepared. The thing that stood out to me was our group was the purple group. I think Purple Craze was what we were. We had a cheer that we did poorly. No one knew the words. But the thing that I liked the best was our cheer did have the hands and feet of Christ. And when I saw these kids doing mission work, building and painting, and helping this man, I could see the hands and feet of Jesus at work. I'm shaking like a leaf. Can you tell this thing's like shaking? That's poor. I know this is terrible. I hate doing this, but just to see these kids get out of their comfort zone and go somewhere and work hard. I mean, as parents, you can't even get your kid to make the bed or do the dishes without screaming at them. These kids would paint, put together, they were building a house. And I guess it's just to say that, you know, anybody can be used. We all have gifts. And to watch these kids, it was like watching Jesus and serving him. So I want to thank the church for the vans, the ride down there, and funding this, because I really believe it's an investment because we're planting seeds.
Okay, I'm Taylor. I'm kind of new here. I liked going on this trip with my friend Courtney, who invited me, because I didn't know any of these people, maybe like 3, and I made a lot of new friends, and even knowing that a lot of them are older than me, and they just like welcomed me and like I was family. I conquered some of my fears this week, like Jenna. I'm deathly afraid of heights, but I felt really dangerous when I was on the roof of the building that we were making. We made a lot of code names. That was pretty fun. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, you didn't have a code name. But I'm just glad that I was invited, because now I'm here, and I'll probably be here for a lot longer now. So, yeah.
Okay, so. Okay, so one thing that I really liked was listening to Gerald's stories about how he like got started with the camp and stuff, and I thought they were really cool because he almost died like a bunch of times, but he kept doing it, and I like getting to go out and helping them, and I got to build a picnic table, which was pretty cool. So yeah.
She also helped put a floor on the second floor. Some of the others, they were up there just hammering away. We lifted plywood up, so the girls are right in there with the guys. I went to the one in Alabama where it was just more recreational, but I tell you, the mission one is a little bit more fulfilling. These guys are incredible, and I won't get very far because I always end up crying when I do this. So, I know there was one evening we were in Bible study and we were talking, and Dave said, he's trying to get them to figure out, where the kingdom was, and getting the fact that the kingdom was in your heart. And I think Gerald, he really had that because he had a passion for what he was doing. He was, 64, something like that. And, his story, he could have given up a long time ago with what he told us. And even with his age, we hear this a lot that, it's past my time. It's time for the younger people. Well, if he had done that, this camp would not be in existence. He had a passion for it. Even though we were out in the middle of nowhere, we fought ticks all week. They just, the work that they did was incredible. And I had a couple of things that, when Chad was talking, I don't know if anybody else did worship notes, Joed did, but there was 4 things he talked about. There was comfort, path, growth, and prayer. And the comfort is the presence of Jesus. Path to God is Jesus. Growth depends on Jesus. And prayer is empowered by Jesus. So all the things that we did this week, we couldn't have done any of them without Jesus and without him being with us. But they're an encouragement. Like I said, when you watch the video, it's just amazing. They had so much more respect. When we were driving, the funny thing is you'd be driving and there's just a little path. And the kids would all be spread out across the road. And you could be right behind them with your car and they'll turn around. And after a while, these guys are going, get out of the road, And I was impressed because even the adults were not having the kids move. But when we were walking, Grant over here is like, hey guys, single file. Like there's these adults that aren't even doing that. And here, we've got a graduate that's telling everybody, get single file when there's these cars coming. But they had a little bit more respect, I think, than some of the others. And just the way they presented themselves, you guys should be proud. And thanks for sending us. We appreciate it.
Joed, I didn't get to see very much during the week. He has this path that Dan got on a weed eater, and he would just, all of a sudden, it's like you'd hear this, you'd hear, and you knew it was still going, but you didn't know where he was. And then he has this, it was a path, though, that had Bible verses on it, and each morning he wanted the kids to walk through, and these were inspiring verses, encouraging words of the day for him. Well, the signs had faded because he had made them out of markers. So Joed was walking the path, and she was painting all the signs. And you're going to see some pictures where her and Jen had kind of started it. And then Joed went by herself. So you look in the woods, and all of a sudden you see this little head go. And that was Joed out there, and she was awesome. Jill was our camp photographer. So if you see the pictures, Jill. No, she did a great job. She did a great job, and she worked too. She painted. She was everywhere. And all these girls, they put up floors in the attic. They built picnic tables, painted the deck, cleaned mattresses. What? Yeah, these guys were everywhere. They're amazing. So thank you, girls. I spent a little more time with these guys this week, and we're still here. All right, Grant, I'll start with you.
This week at camp, I learned a lot about getting to appreciate what you have, because a lot of the kids that would go to the Sunshine Ranch really didn't have a lot, and that was the best week of their lives. They always wanted to go back and do it all summer. So that was cool to just hear Gerald's stories about the kids that he was helping. It was also fun since this was my senior trip. It was nice to get to meet all the younger kids and see what the church is going to become. So that was cool to see. And just for a senior trip, it was one of the better trips that I've been on, so it was a lot of fun.
Hello. You don't know me at all, probably. My name is Brady Cameron. It's nice to meet you. I'm actually from Brookdale Church, and I'm good friends with Grant and Audrey. Audrey actually asked me out to go on this trip because it was shorthanded with older gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? But no, we had a good time. I don't know any of these. I don't know any of these guys, but we did get to know each other pretty well. Just like the girls, we bonded a lot, had good wrestling moments, ate a lot of food, a lot of cottage cheese, which was disgusting. But no, we had some fun. Gerald was a good dude. He was 64 years old, and he was a construction maniac. He had built this house by himself. We just helped him finish up the project. But you would see him. He never took a rest. We would be taking a break for lunch, and the dude would still be standing up, still talking to us, still working. So he was definitely an energy freak. He would be, 64 years old, and he would be just climbing like a monkey through the ceiling, through the roof, everything. He was a blessing to be a part with. But the thing that stuck out for me the most was Chad, our pastor. He made the point that he was talking about the difference between heaven and hell. And when we think of heaven, we think of this great place to go to after we die, and golden streets. This rich with milk and honey, and just this incredible place. And then we think of hell, like burning and fire and ash and terrible and horror and all this kind of negative stuff. But he made the point that hell is heaven without Jesus. The exact same thing except without Jesus. So it's not the difference physically. It's just hell is not good because Jesus is not with us. The exact same place except Jesus is only in one of them. So we made the point to go on that with the prayer gathering time and family group time. So that was the major difference that stuck out to me.
One of the things that really stuck out for me on this trip was just it was one of my first mission trips I've ever been on, and it was really cool to be a part of something that will impact a lot of people. And just the fact that Gerald was 64 and should be retiring, and he's done so much in his lifetime, but he is starting something new and starting something that will be just only grow. And I just thought that was really cool how he didn't stop, and he's just gonna build this legacy basically of how not to ever stop even when age is not a factor. And so that's the one thing that stuck out to me.
I actually did go to camp, even though I forgot my shirt. But one thing that David Stroud and I were nailing in studs in the house, and we were putting up siding too with some of the other guys nailing it in, and then Jim was a master with the saw, made some fine cuts, and Gerald was helping us all the way too, and Gerald was telling us stories about how he had fallen off the roof and hurt his leg and almost died a few times, and saw these terrible things. And just then when he was younger, he'd been raped by a priest, and he was telling us all these terrible things in his life. And I remember him saying that he had been blessed, and he'd never given up serving. And that was an inspiration to that we should never give up serving, no matter what happens to us, and never give up on Jesus, even though bad things happen to him in the church and everything. That we should always stick with the church. And I want to thank the church and all our leaders for giving me this opportunity.
One thing that impacted me the most was knowing what the definition of sin was. We talked one night what the definition was, and I looked at this C.S. Lewis quote, and it's on the side of creature, and mine was, a creature that is begging to join you with free prizes or temptation. And that was not even close to the actual definition. But really, the real definition was tearing you apart from God little by little. And that was, it just, well, you ask yourself, do you actually know what sin is? And yeah, thank you for letting us go. And this was an awesome trip. It's my first one.
What I liked was just getting to be able to work with everybody and some of the younger people, and working on this house and knowing what it's going to be used for, and just being able to go and be able to have a good time with everybody. And I want to appreciate the church for letting me go.
Okay, one thing that impacted me is whenever Chad was talking, and he said that you have to be spot on with the way you live if you say you're a Christian. Like, you can't do one thing and then expect to go to heaven just because you didn't do the other things because you didn't feel like it or something else was better. And I just want to thank everyone for letting us go, because we probably saved Gerald from breaking another ankle while he was trying to do a 3-man job by himself. Thank you.
It was a fun trip and stuff, but one thing that I thought was interesting was, well, Gerald was working on this thing, and he's not exactly a young man anymore. He's in his 60s, and he's still working on all this stuff for kids who don't get exactly the type of treatment they need at home, and so they come to this camp, and it helps them. And I thought it was cool that Gerald, even though he's old and he's still doing stuff. I'm glad I could go.
Okay. One of the verses that we had while we were there was 1 John 3:10. Excuse me. My voice is kind of going out like yours is. This is how we know who the children of God are and who the children of the devil are. Anyone who does not do what is right is not a child of God, nor is anyone who does not love his brother. And that sounds fairly negative, but the one thing I think was amazing. I've been on lots of youth trips and worked with youth quite a bit over the last 10 years or so. And one thing I will say is this group of youth that we went with for this trip was impressive. They were the best behaved. They showed quite obviously that they were children of God throughout this entire process. From the van rides, there was no bickering that I can remember. There was no issues with anything. And it was impressive. So you should really be proud of your kids that you sent on this trip. They represented God and they represented our church. And they represented themselves quite well. We talked a lot about the Gerald and the amazing things that he's doing. And I was really impressed that these kids that actually registered with them, and they got it. And hopefully that will impact them the rest of their lives, and they can, at 64, do something similar and keep that same strong faith that Gerald had. I got to know some kids that I didn't know very well, and I was super excited about that. They're great kids. I'm really proud of them, and I really want to thank this church for giving me this opportunity and giving these kids this opportunity. And I can't tell you how much it means to me. And just thanks for everything. God always blesses. Thanks.
Yeah, one thing about these guys is we had kind of an older guy